Donald Trump was pretty much sleeping through much of the cabinet meeting today when he was not saying other deranged things. Release those MRI results right now. I mean, some of the deranged things that Trump was saying at the cabinet meeting is that he got an A on a cognitive exam, and people were like laughing in the room. There's nothing funny about what he's saying. I mean, he looks utterly deranged. And we saw that he released a doctor's note, which he claimed were MRI results. And when you actually look at what this doctor's note says, first off, it's not an MRI result. It talks about Trump received a comprehensive executive physical. Advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure he maintains long-term vitality and function. Any serious doctor will tell you that what was written right there is not a real thing. I mean, you don't get preventative cardiovascular and abdominal MRI. It's also a strange place of the body. If you were just to make up and conceive of a MRI for preventative issues, which you shouldn't, the fact that it wouldn't be of the spine and the brain, and focus on abdominal issues is also another red flag. But I'll bring in some doctors who we'll talk about in a moment. But first, I just want to show you. I mean, like literally Trump was sleeping through much of this cabinet here. So here's Donald Trump listening to RFK Jr. Just watch Trump, he's asleep. Play this clip, and if you lived in New Jersey and you moved to Oregon and you got injured, you went to a hospital, you would have to spend maybe 45 minutes filling out forms on a clipboard, because your doctors there could not get your health care records. They couldn't get your blood type. Hello, wake up, Donald, hello. I mean, this is serious stuff. I mean, here is Donald Trump listening to another cabinet member. Doug Burgum, let's play this clip. Been thrilled to be part of the National Park Service, the U.S. Park Police, part of this great effort across the number of U.S. on making D.C. safe and beautiful. Then we have Donald Trump trying to say Buttigieg's last name. And I mean, his behavior is resembling like a very badly behaved first grader. They don't even behave this bad here. Play this clip building the air traffic control under Buttigieg. That's supposed to be Buttigieg. It's another grossly incompetent person. He'd get in his bicycle right to work. He was just terrible. What they do is they take the fiber optics and they take fiber, trying to hook it into copper. And fiber and copper don't mix. You can't do it. But people knew that for the last 30 years since they started doing the fiber. And they spent billions of dollars and it didn't work. And you saw that by the helicopter crash. You saw that by Into the Plane. You saw that by a lot of things. They were laughing and there's nothing. I mean, this very strange behavior. Then you had Caroline Lewis saying this yesterday about Trump's MRI. Let's play it, Danny. Follow up on the MRI because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now? It is happening right now as part of. And this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you and then you'll get it physically as well. Now that wasn't an MRI result. That was the note that I read for you, which is not an MRI exam. Donald Trump said the following about a physical, that he got all A's on everything here. Play this clip. I took my physical. I got all A's everything. But they said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person. Who is the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one because, when you get into the mid-questions, meaning you know 10, question number 10 to 11, 12, 28, 30, they get harder and harder, and they said, would you like to do it? I said, well, no reason to do it. Nobody's ever done it. I'll do it maybe. But there's really no reason, he said, sir. The problem is this is Walter Reed Hospital, and that's a military hospital. And that means that things are, sort of open. It's not like private where you have, if you do poorly, we'll have to probably, you'll find out. I said, I won't do poorly. I'm a smart person, not a stupid person. And as the doctor will tell you, I aced it right, Susie. I got every question right. And these are tough questions. These are questions that I would say 99% of the people that I'm talking to right now, meaning the people that from the fake news, would not do well in those exams. One of the tells right there is, when Donald Trump looks to a member sitting in the table, He said, right, Susie, right? She's not a physician, I mean. Susie Wiles is who he's referring to as his chief of staff. And as the people in that room are like laughing and cuddling, what we're seeing is clear cognitive deterioration. And it just kind of makes the scene extra distressing. I want to bring in Dr. Vin Gupta, who leads Midas Health. And Dr. Gupta, you've been leading the national conversation on this. And of course, you've been leading the national conversation on public health policy. But you've been just calling out that this behavior, is not normal, and that the, explanations that are being given about the MRIs are not normal. Let's just focus. Let's start first on the MRI and the doctor's note. Let's comment on that abdominal preventative care MRI. What do you say about that? Well, Ben, I had a chance to speak to a lot of radiology colleagues at the best academic institutions in the country over the last 24 hours cause. I want to make sure that we're getting the very best expertise across specialties for Midas and Midas Health. No one is aware of getting an MRI of the torso. Which is what? The results that were summarized in the physician's note that Carolyn Levitt read out. It doesn't exist. They had justified getting an MRI of the torso for primary screening of some sort of medical process, because he's older and That doesn't exist. I'm not aware my colleagues across the spectrum in radiology are not aware of that type of screening process. You just don't do it, and I think the fact that they reported only the cardiovascular and abdominal findings, it's odd. Why did he get a full-body MRI? Because that's in vogue amongst a certain subset of men in society. And they just reported the cardiac and the abdominal findings. Okay, then why did they leave out everything else? Did they just get a torso MRI? Why, there is no clinical guideline that exists. And again, these are the most credentialed radiologists in the country. I might challenge anybody to find a group of folks that, is more credentialed and more accomplished and knows, what to do and when to do MRIs than the folks I've spoken with. No one is aware of any type of screening guideline to say yes. As you age, get an MRI of the heart and of your abdomen. So the whole thing is this unusual. And the fact that they're drawing attention to it, and that he's teased it now, drawing more attention to it. It doesn't make any sense. I think they're creating more problems for themselves than they're actually solving. This is all his own creation and his team's creation. Letting things out drip without any obvious alignment with clinical guidelines. And his supporters. I've gotten some critiques from his supporters on social, saying, well, gosh, he's point to any number of data points saying, well, this all makes sense from a medical standpoint. None of this comports, and that's clear. MRIs are not used as primary screening tools. Ben, as we've talked about, but the fact that they just chose to focus on the heart and the abdominal findings honestly makes no sense. And this has been vetted across the spectrum with external experts as well. So again, they're creating more problems for themselves, if you ask me, and creating more questions to be answered than they're actually solving. Now talk about his behavior. And one of the things that you and I have been very mindful of is to not speculate, but to simply report the observational, objective things that we're seeing. So last night, Donald Trump, around midnight or so, posted anywhere, if you count the reposts, anywhere from 150 to like 400 posts over and over and over again, with some of the most deranged conspiracies, that Michelle Obama was actually running the Biden White House, and she was the one pardoning people. Stuff like that. Then today, he starts the day late, as we've seen before, and has this cabinet meeting kind of early afternoon. And then the one public appearance that he's really made in the day, the first one, right? We saw him falling asleep over and over again, throughout it. And then when he did speak, we showed you it's Pete Buttigieg, Jed. And I understand that I guess he thinks he's mocking Pete Buddha. But that behavior is troubling. So what do you make of this? What seems to be deteriorating behavior even over the past week. It's an information void. And I'll say as an observer just like you, and what do we know, clearly? It looks like he's not getting enough sleep or he's just more fatigued. I think the New York Times did extensive reporting that him and his team have panned, but it seems like they're reporting on his fatigue, and his functionality is bearing out in his public appearances. So that's what we know. It's been documented through significant reporting. To your point, erratic behavior, which either is a hallmark of who he is as a person, because we've seen elements of that over the last 10 to 15 years since he's been in politics, or one could say it's getting worse. More frequent, which I think is the case. To your point on social posting last night, you know these trend lines here? More fatigue, I continue to go back to how he comported himself when somebody fainted. And the Oval Office didn't really show any signs of concern, just general apathy and inattention. And then, yes, the erratic behavior looking to be more frequent. These are what we know. These are what we're observing. And then when you couple that with just the fact that they're letting things out drip, 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 they don't really make any medical sense again. If you talk to credentialed physicians that know what they're talking about in radiology, they're just creating more questions than they're answering. And that's the problem. Now, before we go, I want to just kind of let you get the final word here. What should we be looking for? Like, what data should we actually have here in a normal scenario so that we could answer these questions? They should just release, since they, again, his team has made this MRI such a focal point. No one else did they raised it? It was in the note. People were wondering, well, why are you getting the MRI? That's unusual. And then his team and then the surround sound around him said, well, we people get our MRIs now. It's not an abnormal thing, which is not true. So I think he's the leader of the free world. He is the sitting president. His health, we all hope that. I'll say this, speaking just as a physician, we want the president to be as healthy as possible. He's the duly elected leader of the country. And so if there's something wrong, the people should know, and the people there deserve transparency about his health. And I think this presidential health has become such in focus over the last few years. Rightfully so, we have the oldest presidents on record. The last two, I think this is something that should be exonerated. Just release the actual MRI, read this, the read from the radiologist versus a filtered, summarized read from his physician who, again, has editorialized in the past already. We don't want that, just release the actual read. What and why was just a torso MRI done if a full body was done? Just release the read and let people make their own determination. Dr. Good, I know you gotta run. I just want to close the loop on one more thing. In the experts that you speak to it in your own practice, have you ever heard of somebody taking these cognitive exams that Trump keeps saying he's taking? Like every 3 months or 6 months. This level of, have you ever heard of that? Like with that level of frequency. No, nobody takes a Montreal cognitive assessment. MoCA for shortware, which it focuses on recall, memory loss, basic things. Mild cognitive dysfunction is what it tends to sort of screen for. It's not a great tool. No one takes it with this type of frequency. I was on with Nicole Wallace yesterday, and I thought she said it beautifully. Saying that you're passing it every other week is not some sort of flex here that he thinks it is. It's an unusual thing to keep boasting about doing it as frequently as he's doing. Makes no sense. I don't know any neurologist that would recommend doing a MoCA with that type of frequency. And again, it's not the flex that I think he thinks it is. Dr. Gupta, thanks for your time. Thank you, it's Midas Health. Everybody make sure you continue to check out Midas Health and the great work Dr. Gupta is doing, bringing in the top public policy health experts. Everybody hit subscribe here. Let's get to 6.